This episode of Test Drive is brought to you by Elmec and their EV Duty Smart Home Charger.
Hello viewers, you join me on a very windy day here in St. Thomas, but it's okay because we're finally taking a look at the 2024 Cadillac Lyriq all-wheel drive. Yes, the all-wheel drive is finally here. We've been waiting for this for quite some time, and I'm really excited to be behind the wheel of this today. We are going to be going over absolutely everything there is to know about the Cadillac Lyriq, including the specs, the tech, all the features, and everything that you get at this entry-level price point, and why you want to be considering it if you're in the market for a luxury electric vehicle. So let's hit the road and talk about the 2024 Cadillac Lyriq. Before we get into all the tech specs and everything else about this vehicle, I want to thank our friends at Disbro Cadillac here in St. Thomas, Ontario for letting me drive their Lyriq all-wheel drive. They just got this vehicle in the other day and I was so excited when I drove by and I saw it because I knew I needed to do a video on it. I've been waiting for the all-wheel drive and I know a lot of people have been as well. So big thanks to them for letting me drive this and feature the Lyriq for you today. Now let's go over some of the information about this. This tech is the entry-level price point for the Lyriq, has a base MSRP of about $67,000 Canadian, about $59,000 in the US. As tested with the black paint, which is the only option on this, we're looking at just under $74,000 with delivery, or about $63,000 in the US. Not bad overall. And when you compare it to, I'd say, the direct competition, the Mercedes-Benz EQE 500 4MATIC SUV, that vehicle starts at $104,000 Canadian. And that's to get similar power numbers and range. You go with a EQE 350, so you're going to be saving some money, but you're not going to get quite as much range or power. BMW also has the iX eDrive 40. That's about $85,000 base price. So still, the Lyriq comes in just under those numbers by quite a bit. And for the most part, they are the same size. You know, the Lyriq is actually a little bit longer and has slightly better dimensions throughout. But let's talk about the power units on this. Two electric drive units, one on the front, one in the back, producing a total of 375 kilowatts or 500 horsepower, along with 610 newton meters or 450 pound-feet of torque. We're going to be talking about how the Lyriq rides and drives in a few minutes, but we're going to go over the exterior and starting with the front end and the design on this vehicle. If you're a long-term viewer here on Test Drive, you'll know that the #1 design aesthetic I look for when an electric vehicle is being reviewed is how different it looks from a traditional ICE vehicle. I think that the best electric car should look exactly like an ICE car. This is different, there's no doubt, but it's different in a good way. I absolutely love the look of the Cadillac Lyriq. The front end is bold and expressive. If you go with the higher up trims, the LEDs on the front here will actually illuminate in sequence when you come close to the vehicle. We have full LED headlights, we have an illuminated grille, which I think looks fantastic, and Cadillac has adapted their current design language into a vehicle that doesn't need a grille, but still makes it look elegant. And the fact that this is so wide, long, and aggressive just gives it an awesome stance, especially when you're looking at it from the front end. So I personally love the look of this. You compare it again to those two that we talked about, the Mercedes-Benz EQE and the BMW iX. The iX kind of looks more like a traditional SUV, but Mercedes has gone really bubbly with their vehicles, very rounded off. I'm not a big fan of it compared to something like this that still has those sharp edges. I love the look of this car, so I do like it. Front, absolutely nothing underneath the hood. We don't care. We don't typically like front storage areas on vehicles, but just like with any other electric we've tested, essentially you go in and open it the same way you would normally, so there's no point in having a front storage area. The trunk space is humongous to begin with, so that's all you really need there. But my personal opinion, front end on point. I love it, and it just continues all the way around the rest of the vehicle. Obviously, at the side profile, you can see just how long and really low the Cadillac Lyriq is overall. I mean, it's just almost ridiculous proportions, but I love it. I love the rear end of this. It just slopes down and then has this 90-degree angle almost right at the end there. Looks great. Plus, the taillights actually come right up here to the roof line. I haven't seen that before on a car. I think it looks great. Now, the major exterior difference for 24 are the door handles. On the previous 23 models, the first years, these chrome finishes here would be a button. You'd push it and then the door would pop open, kind of like what we saw on the Mustang Mach-E. The rear doors would just pop open. You'd stick your finger in there. There would be a little mechanism there to prevent the door from closing on your fingers. You have to open the door about a couple inches or so before it would actually shut again. So that was nice. And then the front doors actually had a power release on it. So again, you push it, it would push the door open a little bit further than the rear ones, get your fingers in. This is different, similar to, say, the Hyundai and Kia vehicles we feature. You unlock the door, handles pop open, you can open the door just like that. Now, we do talk about this quite a bit when we're talking about electric vehicles here in Canada, because the weather can get pretty brutal, especially in places like Quebec. These door handles might not work that well. Now, GM has a test facility in Kapuskasing in Ontario. They do all of their cold weather testing there. They did cold weather testing with the Lyriq. So I got to assume that they have tested this mechanism to make sure it works, but we'll see overall long term. I think that this is a slightly better, easier functionality over the previous one. And like we talked about with the Blazer a little while ago, getting to the charging port, you push the Cadillac button, mechanism comes down, feel it opens a little bit quicker, and then you push the button, closes back up. So we're on a Cadillac here, a luxury vehicle. You do expect some of these little higher end details like a power opening area to be able to plug your vehicle's charger into. So I do like that. But overall, exterior design on this, fantastic. Around back, it is unmistakable Cadillac design language. You have horizontal and vertical lights in one, and then the vertical lights that run along the back there looks great. I do like it. Actually, I love it. That's how much I like this vehicle. I really do love the design language on the Cadillac Lyriq. It is unmistakable on the road. You will notice it immediately. But the back end is quite nice. What I do like is where you open up the trunk, you actually push the Cadillac badge. That'll open up the trunk space here, and it is extremely generous. If you do have a lot of things that you need to put in the back of this, whether it's groceries or other large items, I think you'll be fine. Despite this being more of a raked back design, you know, your rear windshield is almost at like it's more than a 45-degree angle, really. You don't lose out that much on space because the vehicle is so long. So for my needs here, camera equipment fit no problem with the tripod in its normal position. Sometimes I do have to break it down to be able to fit, and then the seats will fold flat should you need it. Button up here will bring everything closed back up. But I love the look of this vehicle, and I like it in black. I've seen a couple of them. The silver, argent silver metallic is sort of the default color. This is a $900 option, $625 in the States to get the black paint, which I think also looks sharp. I mean, no matter what color you go with, you're going to like it. But I'm cold. We're going to hop into the driver's seat now, talk about the interior of the Cadillac and some of the other features we haven't touched on yet before we hit the road. Well, isn't this a little bit embarrassing? I knew I was forgetting something. The most important part is what drives this vehicle. Maybe it's just so cold and windy outside, my brain stopped working. Now, it has a 102 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery, good for about 494 kilometers or 307 miles. That's because the all-wheel drive system obviously uses up a little bit more energy, but the numbers on the rear-wheel drive unit, I think it's 505 kilometers. So pretty good overall for a luxury vehicle such as this. Again, pretty comparable to the BMW and Mercedes when it comes to overall range. We're sitting at about, I'd say, 55% battery right now with 271 kilometers. So yeah, if we double that, we'd be looking at about 450 or so here in the beginning of winter. Yeah, it's about 2-3 degrees outside. So obviously, when it comes to electric vehicles, the number one rule of thumb we always say is to always be charging. So if you've got it at home plugged in, no problems whatsoever. You shouldn't have any issues with it, but still a good amount of range out of this vehicle and good amount of features out of it as well. We talked about the exterior design. Interior design is quite lovely. Very much in line with what Cadillac is doing now. We have a 33-inch infotainment screen as well as the driver information center. It is all one large screen, essentially. You've got the information on the left side, much like we've seen on the Cadillac Escalade, so you can change things like your gauge cluster around. So you've got energy information, Google Maps, the assist system, or you could just have a clean setup there, which much like the Blazer will show you in real time how much energy you're using. So currently we're sitting here, we've got the HVAC system running at 22 degrees. We're using about 1 kilowatt, so not too bad overall. But I do like the design and layout of this. Again, similar to what Cadillac has been doing for quite some time now. We have physical buttons. Yes, We do have physical buttons for the HVAC controls. That's fantastic. Pretty much everything you need is there, minus the sync button, which you can get to by going into the infotainment system. We do have a couple buttons on the left side of the steering area as well, including your auto hold, your electronic parking brake, and lane keep assist systems. And then I really like the vents on this. These are elegant, very simplistic, kind of similar to what we're going to be seeing with the BMWs that we've been driving recently. You do have very easy to use controls, and you can actually see them, which is a complaint of some of these new design languages that manufacturers are going with, where they hide the vents. You can still see everything pretty easily, so you know where they're pointing. So I do like that. And again, in the B-roll here, you're going to see that we still have some of the protective materials on this vehicle just because it is brand new. And obviously the customer who's going to be buying this car will want to have it as untouched as possible. So we're going to be leaving all of that stuff on there. But feature-wise, we've got heated front seats. We do have dual-zone automatic climate control. There's no heated steering wheel. Bit of a bummer there, but aside from that, we've got everything else that we need. Backup camera, built-in Google services as well with the infotainment. We've talked about that before. You do need to have an active OnStar subscription with data in order to get everything functional with that, including your maps. So currently I do have my phone tethered just so that we can show you the B-roll, but you do have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So most people have been using that recently. Just sync it to there. You do have a wireless phone charger, which seems to work pretty well. I've been using it since it's obviously cold outside. I need my equipment to work, but so far it's been working well. So good amount of stuff here. Overall, very functional design. I like the space. It's comfortable. The seats, like the cushion on these seats are huge. Like, they're just really eat up your bottom, and I do like it. So super comfortable seating position overall. You've got tons of room. Back seat space has a lot of leg room, good amount of headroom as well. So whether you're a taller person or a larger person, you should be able to fit in this vehicle, no problem. Like, I am very comfortable sitting here, especially in the seating position that I'm in, perfect amount of space. I do like it quite a bit, and my headroom is good as well. Now, when you go with the Cadillac Lyriq, everybody gets a full panel glass roof up top. You can close it. There is a shade, but we're going to keep it open. Aside from that, we have driver memory options, which is something that we do expect to find at this price point. And then your center console here has two cup holders, as well as an armrest and all that. So, I mean, for an entry level, this is really good. I mean, you're stepping up into a Cadillac. You're getting a couple of things that you wouldn't get otherwise. You have a 4-year warranty on this vehicle, 80,000 kilometers, as well as scheduled maintenance. Now, obviously, with an electric, there is less maintenance to be done, but still you want to go in for routine checks just to make sure things like your tires are good, brakes, things like that. You can have everything checked out. So you get 4 years of that, plus there's the 8-year, 160,000 kilometer warranty on the electric components. So everything that drives the vehicle from the electric propulsion system is covered for that period. There's quite a bit of safety tech that also comes standard on this vehicle. We do have things like the front and rear parking sensors, forward collision alert with emergency automatic braking, along with rear automatic braking and rear cross traffic braking, along with the alert system. You also have lane keep assist and lane departure warning, and then regular cruise control on this. So a good amount of stuff for this price point. Again, comparing it to the German luxury cars, they pretty much come without any features. They're pretty Spartan at those price points, so you are getting quite a bit with this. But I think that's about it for me talking. I think we need to hit the road and see how this vehicle performs. We're going to be keeping it in sport mode, seeing how nice the roads are here because they have been pretty wet. But maybe we can get some performance testing and show you everything else about the Cadillac Lyriq. Now, one thing you're going to definitely want to remember is where your shift lever is. It is a little different. Nothing like we've seen on other Cadillac vehicles before. At least the power button, the stop and start button for the motor, is in a normal position. You get in the car and hit that like usual, but your gear shifter, or your selector really, is where you would normally have your windshield wipers. So just keep that in mind. Your windshield wipers are going to be on the left side along with the turn signals and all that. So kind of like a pickup truck, but it works out once you get used to it. It makes sense, similar to what we saw on, again, the Blazer EV a little while ago. But I want to talk about how this vehicle feels really on the road, because I did drive it a little bit before filming just to obviously get it into position. And I have driven the Lyriq before, but we drove the rear wheel drive version. I didn't film it. That was during my hiatus. And honestly, I mean, it felt great. I really do love this car. And with all-wheel drive, this could be a much better option if you live somewhere like Canada, like Quebec, where the roads get pretty rough. We always recommend, though, that you're going to want to get a good set of winter tires. I always have to stress that, because a set of winter tires, I mean, some people might say that the worst set of winter tires is still better than all seasons, but you need a good set of winter tires. So with all-wheel drive, you do have a little bit better control in the winter, but I always tell people too that that's only to get you going, gives you traction. If you're slipping because the roads are slippery, icy, things like that, doesn't matter how much all-wheel drive you have. The winter tires are what makes it key. So I do recommend that. But for the most part, I mean, you're not adding a ton to the overall price of this, right? You get all-wheel drive by spending a couple grand. I think it's like $3,900 essentially to get that. I think that's a pretty good trade-off to just have a rear wheel only unit. Plus you get more power, which is, you know, kind of what you're looking for if you're looking for a Cadillac. You know, Cadillac now, over the last little while, they've been really pushing themselves more towards being a performance brand with their V sub-brand. There's no V version of this at this point, but you know, with the dual motor setup, you do have quite a bit of power. Now, we're going to be driving for the most part normally here through the city, just because, you know, I don't have quite a stretch here to be able to rip it. Don't worry, we will get to that. But first couple impressions here, the vehicle does feel heavy, but not heavy because it weighs 6,000 pounds. It's heavy steering feel, and I think that's what you want. I don't like the ones that just feel kind of loose and, you know, almost boat-like, right? This is a very precise feeling when it comes to the steering wheel, and I do like that it is heavier. It gives you a bit of a feel to the fact that, yeah, the vehicle is a heavy vehicle, but you kind of need to be reminded of that sometimes just because of how quick these electric vehicles can be. So I do like the steering feel on this. Suspension is nice as well. We do have a very long wheelbase for the size of this vehicle. You know, it is actually longer than a Cadillac XT6. The wheelbase is longer than that. That is a 3-row SUV that Cadillac makes. So you're getting quite a long wheelbase as well as a wide track. The front wheels and rear wheels do sit further apart than you would find on normal vehicles. So the vehicle feels planted on the road. So if you really do some performance driving with it, you won't feel like you're gonna fly off the road. But overall, I mean, it is smooth, it's quiet, as you would expect. Cadillacs, you know, again, being a luxury vehicle, you do expect that to be quiet on the road with no engine. Obviously, it's going to be quieter, but even road noise from tires and stuff like that, not bad overall. And with the amount of space in here, it's fantastic. I mean, I do feel that this is a big car. The hood does go for quite a ways, you know, and the front wheels really do sit close to the front of the car. So, I mean, you get a really aggressive looking vehicle and a really large feeling vehicle. I mean, considering this is a mid-size SUV, I'm driving a 7 Series BMW the same week I'm filming this. This actually feels like it's about the same size as that 7 Series in terms of how, you know, low I am to the ground, but then how big the hood is and everything. So keep that in mind. I mean, if you want a big car, this is definitely the way to go. Now, a couple things about charging with this vehicle. We do have an easy access button for one pedal driving. I don't personally like it, but you've got the option there. Then there is a paddle on the left part of the steering wheel here for your brake regen. So if you hold that, it will obviously bring the vehicle to a stop, but the harder you push it, the harder your braking is. So I like that. We've seen that before from General Motors. They sort of pioneered having a button there for it with things like the Volt, so option is there for you as well. This vehicle can be charged at a level 2 charger up to 19.2 kilowatts, and you can also do DC fast charging at 190 kilowatts. Not as high as we've seen on a lot of newer vehicles, but still, for where we're at in North America at this point, plenty to get you charged up with that 102 kilowatt hour battery. So you're going to want to be using definitely level 2 at home all the time, but you have some options with the faster charging, sort of level 2.5 charging capabilities at 19.2 kilowatts. Now we're coming here onto Mexico, as we like to say, in case anybody's watching who might be curious. So if I were to, you know, merge onto the highway, let's say there's some slower traffic, and I really like to give it some gas. Whoa, that's quick. And we're up to speed, no problem. We're using currently 146 kilowatts. That's a lot of power. Holy cow, man. You saw that, right? That was instant. Throw my head on the back there, and that was from like 80 kilometers. So if we were to bring it right down, I've got a couple seconds here to be able to do it before traffic catches up with me. We're gonna go right from a dig. Oh, buddy. Yep, up to speed, no problem, and about 100. Look at that. Now, there was a bit of a delay there. We see that with some electric vehicles because I was braking up until that point. There is usually a fail-safe. The car doesn't want you to, you know, bash into somebody in a parking lot. I'm sure if I were on a closed course, I would be able to get up to speed just a little bit quicker. But still, I mean, that is a great amount of power out of a vehicle like this with the control of all-wheel drive, even better. what more could you want? You know, this is the vehicle I was expecting for quite some time. Like I said, I drove the rear wheel version. I was expecting this to be even better, and it does not disappoint. I like that quite a bit. You know, I think we're getting to the point now with electric vehicles that, at least for me, the novelty of that instant power and ridiculous amount of speed is starting to wear off. You know, it was fun for me for a while, but I've driven so many electric cars now that I really do expect that. I'm just kind of at the point where I want something comfortable, smooth, and refined, and that Cadillac definitely does have that. You know, I feel like I am driving a luxury vehicle that just happens to be insanely quick and also very, very comfortable. I'd say that this is probably one of the most comfortable Cadillacs I've driven next to the Escalade. All the other ones feel just a little bit tight for a larger guy like me, but this is the next most comfortable after going with a vehicle that costs usually $40,000 to $50,000 more than this. Now we're using the brake hand pedal here. You can see as I hold it, I can do a little bit, or if I push it down all the way, brings it right to a stop. Look at that, perfect. And then again, if we, whoa, that's not even 100%. That's about 80% depression there. Very, very quick. So good stuff there from Cadillac when it comes to this drive unit. I'm quite impressed. Like I said, I've been hoping to be able to drive this for a while now. It's finally here, and you can get your hands on it too, because obviously if I've got my hands on it, means that other dealers are starting to get them. So if you've been waiting for the all-wheel drive version, now's your chance. So before we wrap up here, I want to take it over these train tracks, so let's see how it does. Ooh, very smooth. No problems whatsoever. You know, that is a suspension that really does eat things up. It is a 5-link suspension front and back on this vehicle. Obviously, again, because it's heavy, you want a heavier duty suspension on this, but it is very soft. And that's what I do like about it. It's not a firm suspension. This is a luxury vehicle, not a performance vehicle. So it's exactly what you want. The bumps do get eaten up pretty well. And again, you don't hear them too much either. You know, there is some a little bit going around, but that's pretty much to be expected considering the roads here are a little rough. But I like it quite a bit. Look at that. I've been having a good time with this vehicle. I am so glad that I had the chance to drive it. And yeah, I always get excited when I see these on the road, because I'm starting to see more and more of them as more Lyriqs are being delivered and more people are getting behind the wheels of them. I do think that this is one of the best looking electric vehicles on the road right now, especially in the luxury game, because again, you know, some brands are just going way too funky. Keep it simple, keep it traditional. That's what Cadillac has done here. They are moving towards the future. They are doing something a little different, but not in a bad way, and I just absolutely love it. So if you have any questions about this vehicle, you want to know more about it, we will try our best to get a review unit for ourselves sometime in the new year, but at least for now, our first drive here has been successful. We do get back to everybody in the comments as quickly as we can. So if there are things that you would like to know about it, we will try to get back to you and let you know, but leave a comment below, thumbs up the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and until next time, as always, take care.